A country girl was fired for helping a veteran's cat. Minutes later, Marines stormed the cafe. Before we dive into this breathtaking story of overcoming obstacles, leave a comment below telling us which city and country you're watching us from. Stay tuned until the end. Emily's life in a small town. Emily Parker woke up early every day to work at the local coffee shop in her small town. Despite the simple routine, she enjoyed the quiet atmosphere and the connection with the few customers who frequented the place. The cafe was a meeting place for locals looking for a break from country life, and Emily did her best to keep the service welcoming. Her dream was to grow up and achieve something better, but for now she was content to help her family and maintain her dignity at work. In town, everyone knew everyone else and news spread quickly. Emily was seen as a kind-hearted person, always ready to help anyone in need. Despite financial hardship, she remained optimistic and believed that kindness was what made a difference in everyday life. Working at the cafe helped pay the bills, but it also gave her a sense of purpose and belonging. Emily appreciated the little things like the smell of freshly baked bread and the sound of the kettle boiling. The cafe owner, Richard Collins, was a demanding and impatient man who valued discipline and strict rules. He did not tolerate mistakes or deviations from the rules, which often caused tension in the workplace. Emily, being young and idealistic, often clashed with Richard's tough stance. Despite this, she tried to maintain her balance and avoid problems, until an unexpected event would change everything. The peace of her routine was about to be shaken. On that particular day, Emily had no idea that her choices would put her at the center of a situation that went beyond the limits of the quiet town. Small gestures of empathy and courage would end up triggering a chain of events that would change her life forever. The plot began to unfold, and what seemed like a simple act of kindness would transform her destiny. Emily could hardly imagine what was to come. The arrival of James and his injured cat James Carter walked into the cafe with slow steps and a tired look, holding a thin, limping cat. The veteran carried on his shoulders the weight of difficult experiences, reflected in his face marked by time and the battles he had faced. He was looking for a quiet place to take shelter and try to care for the injured animal he had found. The cat was his only companion, a symbol of companionship in a world that seemed increasingly hostile. Emily could see the man's distress as soon as he walked in, and felt an immediate desire to help. She knew stories of war veterans, people who had sacrificed so much for their country, and who were sometimes forgotten by society. The man's presence in that cafe, in that small town, brought a mixture of respect and compassion. James seemed fragile, but there was a quiet strength about him that intrigued Emily. Despite her own struggles, Emily didn't hesitate to offer a little comfort to the veteran and his cat. She knew the cafe had strict rules, and that she couldn't always act according to her heart, but at that moment, the well-being of this living creature was what mattered. The decision to take in James and his animal was a risky one, but necessary. Small acts of humanity can be more powerful than you might think. James thanked him with a shy smile, sitting down at a table in the corner of the cafe. He seemed relieved to have found a place where he could rest for a few minutes. The cat, even though injured, seemed to sense the calm around him and snuggled into the veteran's lap. The setting seemed simple, but it hid a tension that had not yet fully revealed itself. Emily decides to help the cat, even against the rules. As James tried to comfort his cat, Emily realized that the animal needed urgent care. The wound on his paw required cleaning and attention, something that could not wait until he could find a vet. Even though she knew that the cafe owner was strict and that this attitude could cause problems, she decided to act. For Emily, the urgency of the moment was greater than any rules imposed by work. She went to the kitchen, grabbed a basic first aid kit she kept for emergencies, and quietly returned to the veteran. Carefully, she began to clean the cat's wound, trying not to cause the animal any pain. All the while, she kept her voice low so as not to draw Richard's attention. Emily knew she was risking her job, but for her, helping this veteran and his injured cat was a matter of dignity and humanity. The atmosphere in the cafe seemed heavier, with suspicious looks from some customers and the tense mood of the owner of the establishment who, at any moment, could appear to complain. Emily felt a mixture of nervousness and determination. She knew that this could cost her dearly, but she did not regret her decision. Solidarity was above rigid and unfair rules, and she wanted to do the right thing. James watched with gratitude as he received help, something he had not experienced in a long time. For him, this simple gesture was a ray of hope in the midst of a dark period in his life. The bond between the two began to grow stronger there, silently and genuinely, as if they were two strangers who found comfort in each other's empathy. Richard finds out and fires Emily. Richard Collins walked into the room and immediately noticed something was different. His eyes immediately fell on Emily caring for the cat in the corner, a clear violation of the rules he had imposed to maintain strict control over the cafe. Without hesitation, Richard approached with firm steps and an authoritative voice, making it clear that such behavior would not be tolerated. For him, discipline was essential, and he admitted no exceptions. He called Emily for a quick and stern talk in the back of the establishment. He bluntly informed her that her attitude, although understandable from a human point of view, violated work rules and put the cafe's operations at risk. The decision was immediate. Emily was fired. The young woman received the news with a mixture of shock and sadness, but she maintained her composure, knowing that she had done what she believed was right. The atmosphere was tense with tension between employer and employee. Some customers witnessed the moment and were torn between supporting Emily and respecting Richard's authority. The quick dismissal caused a quiet uproar, revealing the impact of that action within the community. Emily felt the frustration of losing her job, but her conscience was clear. Before leaving, Emily took one last look at James, who was watching the scene with a worried and sympathetic expression. That moment marked the beginning of a series of events that would go beyond the borders of the cafe and the city. Everyone's lives were about to change drastically, and the simple act of helping a cat would be the trigger for an unexpected turn of events. Emily shares her disappointment and receives support. Emily returned home carrying the weight of her dismissal and the feeling of injustice that seemed unbearable to her. Despite the blow, she knew that she had acted with integrity, and that this act of kindness could not be grounds for punishment. Amidst her sadness, she sought comfort in her family and a few close friends, who welcomed her with words of encouragement and understanding. Their support was essential to keeping her strong. Sitting in her home's simple kitchen, Emily explained what had happened at the cafe and how she had helped the veteran and his cat. Her voice conveyed a mix of emotion and firmness, showing that she did not regret her decision, even knowing the consequences. For her, respect for life and human dignity was above any job or rule imposed by an inflexible boss. Friends encouraged her not to give up and to keep the faith that this would make a difference, even if she couldn't see it at the time. The small-town community, while conservative in many ways, also had room for acts of courage and solidarity. Emily felt she was not alone, and that her stance could inspire others to act with humanity. Meanwhile, outside, a group of men in military uniforms approached the cafe. The tension that was beginning to grow in the city announced that Emily and James's story was far from over. The connection between the characters was becoming increasingly deep and complex, setting the stage for the next phase of the plot. Marines raid the cafe looking for James. When the group of Marines entered the cafe, the atmosphere changed completely. Silence filled the place and the customers looked at each other apprehensively. Sergeant David Morgan, the team leader, entered with determination, making it clear that they were after someone very important. James Carter was the target of the search, and the presence of the soldiers made it clear that this was a serious and urgent situation. Emily, still reeling from her dismissal, felt her heart race as she recognized the man who was taking care of the cat. The Marines began to search the cafe rigorously, questioning everyone present and inspecting every corner of the establishment. Tension grew, and the feeling that something bigger was happening became clear to everyone. The small village had never seen anything like it, and curiosity mixed with fear. James remained calm despite the pressure from the military. He had been hiding for years, trying to escape his past and the enemies who were chasing him. This invasion represented the turning point. He knew he couldn't keep running forever. Now, with Emily's unexpected help and the imminent confrontation, he would have to face his problems head-on. Sergeant Morgan, in a firm voice, announced that the search for James was a delicate operation, involving military secrets that could not be ignored. Emily realized that her decision to help the veteran put her in a much more complex situation than she had imagined. The truth was about to come out, and nothing would ever be the same again. Who is James Carter? James Carter was no ordinary veteran. He had served in secret missions overseas, where he witnessed events he could never forget. Scarred by war, he carried not only physical scars but an emotional burden that isolated him from the world. His cat, a faithful companion, was his last link to a life he was trying to rebuild. The persecution he faced came from powerful enemies determined to silence him. Despite his tired appearance, James was an intelligent and strategic man. He had decided to hide in that small town precisely because he believed that anonymity would protect him. He avoided contact with authorities, distrusted everyone, and lived in constant fear of being captured. The arrival of the Marines showed that the past had finally caught up with him, putting everything at risk. Emily, curious and concerned, began to understand the depth of the situation. This was not just a simple story about a wounded veteran, but a conflict involving secrets and betrayal. She saw that James needed real help, not just temporary care. Her determination to protect him grew with each new piece of information he learned. Sergeant Morgan explained that James had crucial information that could change the course of military investigations, but that his safety was at risk. The team was there to capture him and ensure his protection, but also to prevent this information from falling into the wrong hands. The scenario was becoming increasingly complex and dangerous. Bonds between Emily and James began to form. In the days following the invasion, Emily and James began to share more than just the difficult situation that had brought them together. Long, heartfelt conversations began to build a bridge between two very different lives that were now intertwined. Emily discovered a sensitive man, marked by trauma, but also full of hope and a desire to start over. James, in turn, found in Emily an unexpected strength, a light that gave him the courage to face the fears that haunted him. The young country girl showed genuine empathy, which broke down the barriers of distrust. They began to believe that, together, they could overcome the challenges that life placed before them. Their time together also brought moments of lightness and humanity, such as when James told stories from his past, and Emily shared her hopes for the future. Their bond grew naturally, sustained by honesty and mutual respect. They both knew that their connection was one of the few certainties amidst the chaos that was taking place. Behind the hardships, a solid friendship was forming, giving Emily a new purpose and James a reason to fight. Mutual support would be essential for the next steps, and the bond between them began to shape the course of events to come. Richard faces problems after firing Emily. While Emily was building her new relationship with James, Richard Collins was feeling the weight of the consequences of his decision. The young woman's dismissal caused an unexpected backlash in the community, which began to question the cafe owner's rigid stance. Customers began to avoid the establishment, showing support for Emily and rejection of Richard's severity. In addition, employees began to complain about the tense atmosphere that was taking hold in the workplace, which was affecting performance and the work environment. Richard's authority was challenged, and he had difficulty maintaining the control that he had previously exercised easily. The situation forced him to rethink his actions, although his stubbornness was an obstacle. Richard still saw Emily as a threat to the order he wanted to impose, but reality showed that his rigidity was causing more harm than good. Criticism began to affect his reputation in the city, and the isolation of the cafe became a direct consequence. He faced a dilemma between maintaining discipline or adapting to the new environment. Amidst this turmoil, Richard began to realize that rules are not always enough to deal with the complexity of human relationships. The crisis caused by Emily's dismissal was the first sign that change was inevitable, both for him and for the cafe he ran. Sergeant Morgan explains the mission to Emily. In a private conversation, Sergeant David Morgan decided to clarify to Emily the gravity of the situation involving James. He explained that the military mission was aimed at protecting confidential information that the veteran was carrying, data that could compromise national security if it fell into the wrong hands. Morgan emphasized the importance of her collaboration for the success of the operation. Emily listened intently, absorbing every detail and understanding that the simple help she had given James was connected to something much bigger. The responsibility that now fell on her shoulders was daunting, but it also awakened in her a sense of duty and courage. Morgan trusted that she would be an essential ally in this delicate moment. The sergeant also revealed that there was an active threat against James, with people willing to do anything to obtain the information he was keeping. This persecution made the situation even more dangerous and required speed and discretion. Emily began to understand that she was involved in a game of life or death. Despite the tension, Morgan showed respect for Emily's stance and made it clear that the goal was not just to arrest James, but to ensure his safety. The young woman accepted the challenge, Feeling part of something bigger, ready to act and protect those who trusted her, Emily decides to support James and the Marines. With all the information she had received, Emily made a firm decision. She would not abandon James even in the face of the obvious risks. She knew that helping a veteran in danger was more than an act of kindness. It was a commitment to justice and dignity. That choice transformed her life and set her on a path of no return. Emily began working alongside the Marines, learning the strategies needed to protect James and the information he held. Her determination and courage surprised everyone, showing that even a simple young woman could be a key pillar in a complex situation. The trust between them grew every day. The young country girl faced fears and uncertainties, but she never lost focus. Solidarity and a sense of responsibility guided her actions. Emily understood that she was participating in something bigger than herself, and this awareness gave her the strength to continue despite the adversities. This union between civilians and military showed that, even in times of crisis, collaboration and respect can make a difference. Emily took on an active and indispensable role, facing challenges with determination and a heart full of hope. Plan to protect James. The group came together to devise a plan that would ensure James's safety and prevent his pursuers from obtaining the confidential information. Every detail was carefully thought out, considering escape routes, surveillance points, and discreet means of communication. The strategy required precision and teamwork, as the slightest mistake could be fatal. Emily contributed ideas based on her knowledge of the city and the people around it, offering a perspective that the military did not have. Her on-the-ground experience was invaluable in putting together a realistic and effective plan. She gained the respect of the team, becoming a key player in the operation. Sergeant Morgan coordinated the actions firmly, knowing that Emily's collaboration was a differentiator. Everyone was aware of the risks, but the hope of success kept the group united and focused. Each person's commitment was the basis for facing the imminent danger. Preparing to escape and protect James became an exercise in patience and caution. Tensions mounted as the decisive moment approached, but the group was ready to act with determination. Attempted capture and tense escape. The day of the capture attempt arrived with an atmosphere full of tension and uncertainty. The group followed the plan to the letter, using less busy routes and avoiding any exposure. James, Emily, and the Marines were aware of the danger, but unity and preparation gave them the strength to face whatever came their way. However, the chase was not long in coming. Enemies appeared unexpectedly, forcing the group to act quickly to ensure their escape. Moments of extreme tension marked the journey, with races, detours, and improvised strategies. Adrenaline was at its limit, and every second could mean the difference between life and death. Emily, despite her fear, remained calm and helped guide James and the Marines, showing surprising courage. The trust they built was crucial to overcoming the obstacles along the way. The escape was difficult, but determination spoke louder. By the end of the day, the group had managed to escape, but they knew the fight was far from over. The capture attempt had shown that their enemies were determined and dangerous, and that protecting James would require even more effort and courage. Safe haven and recovery. After the tense escape, the group finally found a safe place to rest and plan their next steps. It was a small cabin in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by dense forest that offered natural protection. James took advantage of this moment to recover his physical and emotional strength, feeling relief for the first time since the Marines arrived. Emily was tireless, caring for him with dedication and care. Their bond, strengthened by adversity, brought a quiet and profound comfort. James opened up a little more about his fears and hopes, while Emily reaffirmed her determination to protect him until the end. The military team also took the opportunity to review the plan, knowing that the next step would require even more care. Everyone was aware that the enemy would not give up so easily, and that protecting confidential information meant risking their own lives. This moment of calm served to re-energize spirits, strengthen bonds, and prepare each one for the confrontation that was to come. It was time to remain united and firm. Unexpected betrayal. However, not all the dangers came from outside. Within the group, a silent shadow threatened to destroy everything they had built. One of the team members, driven by personal interests, began to act against James and the others, leaking information to the persecutors. The revelation came in a shocking and unexpected way, shaking the trust that had existed between them until then. Emily was the first to notice small contradictions and suspicious attitudes, which were soon confirmed in a tense confrontation. The betrayal put the entire operation and James's safety at risk. Sergeant Morgan had to act quickly to neutralize the internal threat, demonstrating firm and determined leadership. The feeling of vulnerability made everyone rethink their alliances, but it also strengthened the resolve not to give up. This episode served as a cruel warning. The real battle was not just outside, but also in the hearts of the people they trusted. Last strategy to face enemies. With the betrayal overcome, the group focused their efforts on executing a final plan that would guarantee the ultimate safety of James and the information he protected. The strategy involved not only physical defense, but also a maneuver to disarm the pursuers in an intelligent and decisive way. Emily played a pivotal role, using her familiarity with the city and its people to create distractions and mislead her adversaries. Her combination of local knowledge and military discipline proved unbeatable, earning everyone's respect. Sergeant Morgan coordinated the operation with surgical precision, taking care of every detail to avoid any mistakes. This was their last chance to win this fight, and they were determined not to fail. Tension was high, but hope was even higher. As they prepared for the confrontation, James felt that for the first time he could look to the future with some peace of mind, thanks to the support of Emily and the Marines. Final confrontation and unexpected victory. The decisive confrontation took place on a cold and silent night, when the pursuers tried to invade the refuge. The group was prepared, with traps, strategies, and the courage of those who had nothing left to lose. The battle was intense, full of moments of risk, scares, and courage. Emily showed her strength, facing danger without hesitation, while James used his military experience to help in the defense. The Marines acted with precision and bravery, managing to disarm the enemy and prevent the information from being stolen. In the end, victory came in a surprising way, not only due to brute force, but also due to the unity and intelligence of the group. The pursuers were captured or fled, making it clear that they would no longer underestimate that team. The feeling of relief was immense, and everyone knew that they had overcome a difficult test, coming out stronger and more confident. James could finally think about starting over for real. New beginning and new hope. With the danger averted, James decided to tell his story to the appropriate authorities, providing information that could change many paths. His courage was recognized and a new life began to take shape for him, free from fear and persecution. Emily, now more mature and stronger, was proud of what they had achieved together. The friendship and respect between them had transformed into something deeper, a silent promise that they would face the future side by side. The café, once marked by conflict, became a symbol of overcoming and unity for the entire community. Richard Collins, in turn, learned valuable lessons about humanity and leadership, reopening the doors to a new beginning. Everyone's lives changed for the better, proving that even in the face of the greatest difficulties, courage, solidarity, and love are capable of transforming destinies. If you enjoyed this incredible story of courage, friendship, and new beginnings, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any news. Here, you will find real, inspiring, and emotional stories that will touch your heart and make you reflect. Click the subscribe button now, activate the bell, and become part of our community that values the best in life and people. Share this video with your friends and leave a comment telling us what you think. Your opinion is very important to us. Get ready for many more surprising stories, exciting twists and turns, and moments that will touch your soul. Welcome to our channel, the place where life makes sense and you are the protagonist.